Good morning to all participants of the CIMI 2020 event. My name is Vladimir Rudl. I am the head of the entrepreneurship department within the Maribor Development Agency. For past 20 years, my main occupation is internationalization of SMEs. It's not the macroeconomic, but very pragmatical work with the companies, with the startups and mature companies looking for business partners abroad, or on the other case, also planning their activities abroad. Today, our presentation or main topic will be building a bridge to the new market. We will go through the COVID situation, the COVID pandemic situation, and we would like to see a little bit more information about the new reality, or let's say the new normal, what has become normal in nowadays. Of course, everybody knows that the health, economic, social and political crisis has been created by the COVID situation, and this also means very fierce changes in the world economy and economy concerning the globalization itself. So it is 6 months past since the start of the pandemic situation declared by the World Health Organization, and many changes appeared actually in these 6 months. If we take into account the situation that was 3 months ago, the point of view of the microeconomists and of course also of the SME managers was a little bit different. So if we look at the latest research prepared by International McKinsey Institute, we can see that the managers see the future in next 6 months much more positive. Out of the interviewed, I think more than 50% said that they see that the situation will improve in the near future, and it is about 30% of them that they say that situation can be worse like it is at this moment. This is of course the reality due to the changes or the support given by the national and international organizations and national governments, and this has a little bit changed the perceptions of the management. As we can see it now a little bit in our graphic situation, the situation on the global level is quite different if we take into account the situation in China or Greater China region, or Northern America and then Europe, and if we come then to the countries in development, the most positive situation actually, or opinion, is in the countries that are more developed. So the China, which has undertaken very strict measures concerning the pandemic situation, brought to the situation that about 93% of the managers interviewed say that the situation will significantly improve in the next 6 months. Otherwise, in Europe, this percentage is about 45%, and then it is going down, taking into account the situation in countries in development. Of course, it is also the reality that managers being interviewed see that there will be significant changes in the daily work of their companies, their SMEs. We can see it in the chart concerning different activities of the companies, where the most important changes they are planning to introduce actually. It is majority, or in majority cases, it is the meeting structure and audience will be the most effective or most change. How the leaders will do or deal with the daily work, and the technology and system that will be used. These are the 3 most important categories where the companies are planning their changes in the very near future. Otherwise, the situation is not specifically the same if we take into account different branches or different categories of the economy. Specifically, if we take into account the situation in the travel, transport and logistic, it's brought us to a little bit different situation. The sector is a little bit more in crisis, and in this case we see that The most significant changes will be actually in the interaction with external stakeholders and in development of products and services. I think the restriction in traveling situation will be those that will lead to all these changes. Yeah, maybe we can also mention three changes that will be, due to the McKinsey report, the most significant. We can see it that automatization and digitalization in the process of SMEs will be significantly changed. It is the roles that will be quite changed of the company itself. There will be a lot of remote work, and what is also very significant, it is the use of temporary workers. The situation is changes, and this is maybe the situation we would like to involve in all the economies, but on the global level, I think this will be the fact to the SMEs and their procedures. So, if we go a little bit now to the numbers, what is happening on the global level? What was the impact of the coronavirus on the global level? We can see that about 7.5% shrink of the economy in the European Union is expected to happen in the year 2020. Concerning the year 2021, we expect the improvement, of course. Yes, that the numbers are then varying very much between different countries, and we can see it that the prognosis for countries which has been most affected by the corona pandemic situation, like there are France or Italy or even Great Britain, the situation will be a little bit worse. It will be the decline between 11.5% or 11.4% respectively. So these are a little bit the prognosis what will happen. But we must be very honest, because all the prognoses that have been prepared 3 months ago, this means 2 months after the pandemic situation appeared, were a little bit different. I think they were a little bit more pessimistic, like they're at this moment. And it is also the fact the situation in this moment, in October, now when we have the conference, has been worsening during these months, and the situation now is a little bit more pessimistic, but it doesn't affect so much the companies at this moment. Yes. Then we have different international organizations that have published different reports on what will happen. We have from UNCTAD that has calculated that approximately the loss in China due to the crisis was about 50 billion in export of the goods. It's a huge number. And also, when we look to the situation in the foreign direct investments, it was declining between 5 and 15% at the very beginning of the crisis itself, and the latest information or latest prognosis that has been prepared was much, much higher. It was between 30 and 40% decline prognosis for the years 2020 and 2021. Of course, we know that foreign direct investments are the topic where money is very evaluated, very critical, where it should go and where it should bring the profits. It is also the prognosis of the ILO about the global unemployment, which should increase between 5.3 million and 24 million just due to the global pandemic situation, which is quite a huge number. And then another information is about the decline in services. We can compare this situation with the pandemics, with the situation of the world global crisis in the 2 years, 2008. So this is about the numbers that are some were calculated to happen also with the situation of the corona crisis itself. Maybe we can also say that the banks and other financial institutions are making their own prognosis, which are more related to the regional levels or less to the global levels. And we have also the fact that the end of the crisis is not calculated exactly when it will happen. So we expect several changes when the vaccination will be developed, but when this will happen is very hard to say. Everybody might remember that when the pandemic crisis appeared, this was in the February-March 2020 this year, everybody was very optimistic. So everybody said in 6 months, maybe 8 months, we'll have the vaccinations and the economy will have an opportunity to recover. So we see the reality now. The development will take a little bit more time, and yeah, this means also the economy will have to wait with all these changes. And yeah, then maybe another example of the prognosis, what can happen. So the Spanish Institute Elcan is actually making an overview of 3 potential situations, 3 scenarios that can happen on the global level. The first one is that the situation with the pandemic crisis will be very similar to the 2000 and following years. It means after the crisis in 2008. So there will be no significant differences between these 2 crises. A second prognosis is that we can expect a little bit deeper impact. It means it could be bigger fall in the global trade and can happen in all areas. So we can expect the globalization of about 10% of reduction in economic development. This is the second scenario. And yeah, the third scenario is that the changes will not be so significant, because it is expected that some of the sectors like information technology or science will be more developed, and they will bring new jobs, new prosperity in these sectors. So 3 of them, and it's very hard to say what really will happen. Yeah, the globalization itself, we know that it can have different dimensions. One, it is the time dimension itself. That means it will take some time before we undertake the measurements. Visible situations will change, and we know that it can bring also the medium and long-term effects on the global developed economy. We also know that there are several changes in the energy and accommodation markets. We know that due to the crisis that happened some months or some time ago between Russia and Saudi Arabia, brought to the changes in the prices of oil and changes also of the prices of the other primary commodities. Some of them have been rising their prices. So the changes are effectively there on the global level. Yeah, maybe if we go a little bit further, we can see that the crisis brought us to the situation where we have a little bit of the geographical dependence. It means that China, which was one of the main suppliers of the commodities, of the goods, stopped a little bit their production, and this brought also the problems to the economy in European countries themselves. So it was hard to get to the goods. It was also the problem that some of the economies, like Spain, for example, which had very large sector and strong focus on tourism, have been very heavily affected by the pandemic situation itself. And of course, yeah, we know that there was a certain impact on the SMEs worldwide, on the global level. Yeah, on the supply side, supply chain supply chains have changed quite a little bit, and it led us to the shortage in the situation where we need the parts or intermediates. Then we have also huge changes in the demand side, on the demand side. It was a sudden loss of demand and, of course, revenues that brought us to the lack of liquidity in quite many of companies itself. Yeah, it happened also with the consumers. Less jobs or less business by companies means less incomes for the population itself. It means that some of the sectors were affected by lower purchasing power of the inhabitants in the regions and worldwide. And yeah, sectors like tourism or transport were quite affected in this situation. Yeah, it was also quite a change I mentioned before in the supply chains actually. It means that the companies or the regions where the supply chains were developed on the regional level were less developed, less affected. And this brought the companies, like the companies in Germany, to a little bit better situation in providing the business of the companies themselves. Yeah. The impact on SMEs can be also measured on a little bit more long-term time. The situation that was caused with the pandemic situation also means that many of the companies will have difficulties in establishing the links with their customers or let's say with the former partners they were working with, and yeah, it will take maybe some time, some years, or they will sometimes have completely to change their business partners. Yeah, the SMEs, we can also say they are much affected by the situation. They have it with changing the work process and with the costs of changing the work process. Of course, it is much easier for the bigger companies, let's say medium-sized companies, like it is the situation with the small micro companies or let's say startups which don't have these financial sources and which are not in the position to provide such changes where the money is actually the crucial point to how to do it. Yeah, limited resources, yeah, there are a little bit a problem of SMEs, but we can also say positively that the changes have been made in the policy of the national governments, which were actually supporting some of the SMEs and some of the sectors which have been most affected. We note, for example, by the case in Slovenia, where the system of vouchers has been introduced to support the SMEs in the tourism sector, and it was very similar also in other regions or other economies that supported their companies and their economy in this way. Yeah, we are coming now to the situation, yeah, which are actually the most affected sectors in the crisis, and by the analysis of OECD, actually, we can see that these were more or less the transport sector, transport production, construction, wholesale, retail, especially air transport, accommodation, catering services. Then partly it is also connected to the business of real estate companies and professional and personal services. I think these are the sectors that are most affected, and the situation is very similar in all the countries on EU level or on the global level. We can also say that in some countries where these sectors or service sectors are very strong, the situation has worsened much more like on the national EU level or average. So we can see that in Spain or in Italy, we see that this number was about 60% of the companies being strongly affected, while in the other countries this number was a little bit lower. It was about 45 to 55%. So it is quite a difference between different countries. We can see it also here in our presentation on our slide. What were the prognoses with the sector of tourism, actually? And I took actually the prognosis which was prepared in July this year, so that it can be evident to you how the situation has been changed in the past 2 or 3 months. The prognosis at that time was that if the crisis would end somewhere end of July, this means March, April, May, June, July, in 5 months, about 60% of the companies would be actually, over 60% of the business of the companies would be affected or lost. This would happen in September, would be 75, and this situation continues till the end of this year. The number would be bringing us to the loss of 80% of the business in such a sector. This is a huge number, but we can see it right now that the situation is more or less such one that it won't be many changes to be expected till end of this year, especially not in October, and especially not in November this time. Yeah, the SMEs on global level are one question, but now we can come a little bit to the situation concerning the startups, for example. This is a part of the economy which is quite strongly affected. And we have some of the numbers actually, what has been changing since the 2019 to the 2020 in different countries or in different continents. So we can see that, for example, a situation in the United States, see that there has been a fall of 75% comparing to the previous year. So 75% less startups being established like it was in the 2019. It is also a similar situation with the startups. We have it, for example, in Europe, in Netherlands. The number decreased for 34% in April. This was the peak of the crisis itself. The numbers are now a little bit improving, but not so much significantly. The problem that I mentioned before is also the capital, the venture capital, and we can see it that, for example, investment in startups in China, for example, were falling for 60% in the 2020 comparing to the year 2019. Although we could see that China is one of the most progressive countries concerning the virus itself, it means the economic situation and opinion of the managers there is very optimistic. Then we have also the situation, let's say, in Canada, where we can show that 59% of the Canadians are less willing to start a business as long as the COVID situation is present, actually. This is a little bit the impact on the very global level. We can also go maybe a little bit to the more positive situation we have it. We have also a very sharp increase in some of the sectors concerning the startups, like it is in the companies providing video conferencing or online services, such as gaming, streaming, online education, content providers. The situation in this sector is very positive. So they made a profit. These companies made a profit in being oriented towards the very prospective sectors. On the other side, we can see that the startups that are dealing or started with their business with non-essential, let's say, for example, dining services. So dining out is maybe something that situation we can see that the decrease has been extremely significant. It's something that the startups are looking at very risky business at the moment, and it's very hard to be successful. On the other side, we can see that people are not going to have dinner outside, but they're ordering the food. So if you are now in the business that would like to make a company dealing with providing food from the restaurant to the end customers, this is something that is increasing very well. We can see it maybe daily, looking just around us, that maybe many of such service providers can be seen on the streets, on the bicycle. So it's the business that is increasing, and we can see it also the situation for the future startups, maybe in 2021, 2022. It's probably gonna be completely new situation, and the habits of people will change. So it is an optimistic situation for startups in this sector. It is maybe also a very optimistic situation with the startups dealing with the delivery medicine and other very similar products. While, if we take into account the sports and outdoor events, it's the top risky business at the moment. Although, on the other side, if you are selling the products like bicycles at the moment, you will see that you are in the right time on the right position. So it is very hard nowadays to buy bicycles. So if you want to buy a good one, it means, the seller will tell you, yes, we can provide you this product maybe in 2 or 3 months. So it's optimistic, and on the other side, a very hard situation in this sports and outdoor activities sector. It was also very surprising, the change in payments. So the startups usually must make a decision: will I sell online with credit cards, online payments? Will I provide cash payment options or no? We could see that the cash payments have increased significantly all over the world at the moment. This will probably change when the crisis is over, and the situation will go again to the online payments as it was maybe 1 or 2 years ago. It is also very hard for the startups, for the SMEs, to start their business and to come to the capital, because the investors, the banks, are looking actually more carefully, want to have more proof situation with their business plans, and they want to see a little bit more greater differentiation of the rest of the market. So why the company will be successful, yes or no. Then if we go a little bit to the surveys again on the teleworking, digitalization, new business practices. For example, Canada, Federation of Independent Businesses, is one of the examples that they have seen that it was present the 26% rise of the online business owners. So it's an increasement of it's increasing number of sales that have been provided online, and it is half of this number that say that they had problems in selling their products online. So they made more profit, like losing the incomes in the sector itself in Canada. Maybe we can have a look also on the situation in Japan, how the teleworking or working from home instead of the office was accepted by the SMEs. We have quite different situation. While the bigger companies or medium-sized companies have significantly increased the work, this means large corporations, it's 48% of them having no problems in increasing the work or introducing the work from homes. But on the other side, we have small and micro companies in Japan that had many problems in not existing infrastructure. So it was the number between 10 or 20% that were in the position to make this change, start working from their homes. Yeah, maybe it is also the situation or the study by McKinsey on the European level, where we can see that about 56% of all companies with 50 or fewer employees have been providing remote access or to email applications and to documents to their employees. And it was about 93% of the bigger companies. It means those that employ more than 200 people that are in the position to make these changes. So this is a little bit an overview what happened on the global, on the European level. Now we came to the situation or to the question, what are the advices, what has to be done or what should to be done on the level of the SMEs? What can we do in our company? Yeah, it is very significant and very important that we prepare a business plan on key business function. How to be met if we come to such a situation? It's not present in every company in all the situations. It was not present now, and it was not present in the year 2008. So this is the main topic to be discussed in the company itself. The company should also prepare to make adjustments. It means that we need to think about alternative suppliers or stopping certain activities when it comes to such a dramatic change on the market in such a dramatic situation. And we should also define or make a plan which customers should have the priority. So if we cannot provide enough resources, enough products or services, we must clearly understand which are our most important customers and we should take care for them first. This is a strategic decision what should be undertaken in each of the companies. Yeah, of course, we mentioned several times today that we should think about possibility of working remotely from our homes. There are several tools available and we have several options that have been also tested during past 6 months. It is also the fact that we should reduce the appointments and the travel habits we have. We should skip several conferences in advance, and we must also see it very positively that using the tools like Zoom or Microsoft Teams and several others, it was a positive feedback by the managers in companies that the time they have spent for organizing these meetings and time for implementing all the activities was a little bit shorter. So you can save also quite a lot of time if you work remotely, and we can see it also as a positive habit that will be practiced also in the near future itself. It is also very crucial, very important that you should communicate very transparently with your customers. So avoid any lies, any false reality to present it to them, because you must build up a certain trust with your customers if you want to establish a long-term business with them. Yeah, it's also the fact that you should direct your online sales strategy. And of course, very important it is that you manage your cash very aggressively, very effectively, and think about your investments in the near future. And yeah, it is maybe the new reality that when you focus your business in the near future, please do it in the way that you focus this business towards the industries that are less affected, because they will be in the position to pay for your services, to pay for your goods. And those that will potentially become a company in crisis or in the sectors that are in crisis will not be in the position to do it. Not because they don't want it, but because they will be so much affected by the crisis itself. Yeah, somehow we came to the end. It is the crucial message to all the SMEs that they should rethink a little bit the importance. What are the needs of the company at the moment, today? What will be the needs or the strategy working in 5 years, and what would you like to do in next 10 years? This is something that not all managers or all the companies have been prepared for, and this is the main message we would like to leave it for your debate or your discussion today. So thank you for being with us today, and of course I'm open to answer all your questions you might have concerning this topic today. Thank you.